Hi, welcome back to Successful Kids, Successful Schools. I'm Penny.
And I'm Bill Cecil.
Oh yeah, I'm Penny Owen. And I'm wearing a dress today. And the reason I'm wearing a dress today is this is my very favorite episode of all the episodes we're doing. It's like so important to me that I said I'm dressing up for this one because I love everything about this. So we're going to talk about how do we incorporate creativity into the curriculum, because we're not into changing everything. We're into here's what's required that they learn. How do I make them learn it in a way that engages them, that uses all of those skills that we're building, especially imagination. So I'm going to give some basic ideas. We're trying to incorporate the idea of higher order thinking skills. Try to find the Pac-Mans. And we are trying to apply what they need to know in a multidisciplinary way. So my program included their math program, their language arts program, their social studies program, right? I tried to include science, and then I went, science works on its own. It does everything I'm trying to accomplish on its own because it's climactic, something I'm going to talk about in a minute. Okay? The other thing is, once again, I'm stressing we are not changing the curricula. We are focusing on mastery and the idea of rules. So I'm turning this over to Bill for a minute, just a minute, because what I've learned in my years of being a guest artist in the schools, and everybody's going to scream and yell, is that education favors the way girls learn. Favors the way girls learn, does not favor the way boys learn. So when boys are saying we're being ignored, it's because they are. The system ignores boys. Boys have all kinds of, I'm sorry to say this, whether it's sexist or whatever, but boys are different than girls. And boys, what's important to boys is mastery. I can accomplish something. I have a product. Look what I made, Girls can talk endlessly and know the game and know how to be quiet and know how to, boys do this. I know the answer, they'll say. They raise their hand after they speak out because they're so excited. And then somehow they get in trouble because it's like you raise your hand first. They just can't. The energy just kind of bubbles up in them, and that hand is always after they talk. So a little bit about the importance of, you love sports, right?
I do.
Explain to me why.
Well, I love sports because to me, it's all about team. And so you're part of something larger than yourself with a shared goal and a vision and all that. And so that's really important to me. And I will say what you said about when I was in kindergarten through third grade, I was often put down because I was that kid that would yell out the answer. I was excited. Right. And then it seemed like I did something bad. And so then I didn't want to raise my hand. And pretty soon I didn't even participate. And then that became more of a distraction. So, it's weird. So that's why teams became so important to me, was because I discovered the power of team outside of sports. But that's what got me into sports. And that was when I was 5 years old. And my sister was a little bit older. I think I might have been 6, and she was like a little bit older. And there were 5 of us when we got rid of our babysitter. I think I may have told that story,
did.
Right?
Yeah.
And so, but what I learned is that you can do, when you become a part of something larger than yourself, you can do amazing things. And I also learned that day that you have a part to play on a team that nobody else has, because we picked our specialties. My sister pointed out our specialties and what we could do well.
Right.
And I learned that that to me was validating. Like, very validating because I was a kid that, saw double and wore glasses and
Right.
timid. And all of a sudden it was like, we did something powerful. We got rid of an adult,
Right.
And, but so I turned it to good instead of evil and
Right.
got into sports.
My story about that is I would, you always, because I directed plays and I worked with kids in prison.
Right.
And you worked with me working
yeah.
with kids in prison.
Absolutely.
And we did Shakespeare because I didn't have to pay.
Right.
And there's mostly guys, right?
Right.
So we were doing Macbeth, and I would always say to them, there's no small characters, only small actors. Every part is important.
Right.
Right. So we're doing Macbeth.
Yeah.
Right. And there's one guy who has one line. He runs in and he says, a grove. Burnham Wood is moving on Dunsinane, which is the sign that Macbeth is going to die. And so this kid would run in every time he'd go, a groove, a moving groove. And we would all just fall on the ground and laugh like crazy.
Right.
And I'd say, you see how important this is? Because we are building to the climax, which is the big fight scene between Macduff and Macbeth,
Yeah.
right? And if he says that line wrong,
right.
we're dead. We're
funny.
just dead, right? So it's like every player is important on a team. Okay, so I'm going to talk about Eureka Moments that matter to me, because I want every person to have their Eureka Moments. And I have 2 Eureka Moments. My first Eureka Moment was, I was studying anthropology at between 45 and 55 years old because I had worked with kids in prison. And it worked so well. I'm using drama, and they're like, I could get them to do anything, and they're learning how to read, and they're learning, and they're, all the skills are being done. And I'm going, drama, this is like a magic. This is magic. It works with anybody, right? So I started studying anthropology because I wanted to study the impact of drama on a community.
Mm-hmm.
And I read this one paragraph in a journal article by an anthropologist. His name is not important right now, but they were talking about socialization. So socialization was really all we thought about kids. How do we socialize them to become adults? Well, we socialize them by making sure that they can get a job. We socialize them by making sure that they are obedient to their bosses. We socialize, this is socializing them, right? Mm-hmm. And this guy wrote this one paragraph. And in the paragraph, he says, what we don't understand is that they have their own culture. They have their own culture. Mm-hmm. They want to be successful kids. I'm like, oh my God, that's it. Why? We have been teaching the wrong way all our lives because we're thinking about how do we get them to be adults?
On paper, make them look
smart.
They
can't even visualize themselves being an adult.
Right.
They want to be successful right now, in the moment, blah, 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 blah. So that was a Eureka Moment. That's going to change the way I teach. And the next one, so here's this book, Homo Ludens by Johann Hunziker, published in 1938. I was in a bookstore. I picked up this book. And you can see it's like every page is like yellow, 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 underlined, tabs, 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 right? I'm like, this was my Eureka book. A Eureka book,
That's
right?
Cool.
Because his whole thing, Homo Ludens, we call ourselves Homo sapiens, wise men. Pretty smug, isn't it? Starts right out going, we're smarter than everybody else. We're sapiens, right? No, he goes, no, we're Homo Ludens. Ludens means play. We're playing men. Mm. We like to play games. Mm-hmm. And he explains it chapter after chapter. How many ways is our culture created as a game? Mm-hmm. Law, you go to a trial, it's a game. Mm-hmm. Politics, that's really a game. Mm-hmm. It's totally a game, okay? Mm-hmm. My other one that's a big game is war. Mm-hmm. There are rules, there are regulations, there are all kinds of things.
We like to keep score.
Everything is about keeping score. Now, I like to think it's because men like to know whether they've won or not. So there's some rules in Homo Ludens about what's important about games.
It's interesting.
One, there is a sense of agency, right?
Mhm.
You are important in that world that you're creating in the game world.
Right.
Two, they call it conicality. Again, big word. I hate the whole big word thing. It's like, can we just make it simple and say there are rules? There are rules you abide by, and you get penalized. You break the rule, there's a penalty, unless you're playing in the NBA, in which case you find a ref who, like, rigs the rules for you. But for the most part, there are rules, and you abide by the rules. There is a narrative line. There is a story.
It's interesting.
There's always a story in a game.
Yeah.
There is a setting. There are characters. It's all narrative fiction in a game, right? I cannot push this enough. That this was Eureka for me. This was like, okay,
That's cool.
I'm changing my lesson plan. I'm going to write a lesson plan that's based on a game. And the what if world that I'm creating is a world where there's a game every single day. Every single day that I play. And I need to say, they don't have a world of their own from 8:30 in the morning until 2:30 in the afternoon every single day. We went into this liminal space, this subjunctive space, this what if space, once a week for an hour and a half. But we would set up, we would prepare, we would plan, right? And then it would spiral. The game starts easy. The game gets harder. The game gets harder. There's degrees of difficulty within the grade level. And then when they went to the next grade, it got harder every single time. It's still the idea of a game, right? But so I'm going to get to the fifth grade eventually. But right now I'm going to focus on the fourth grade in the next episode, what exactly we did in the fourth grade. But so in the fourth grade, it was concepts about government, economics, history, language arts, and math, right?
Right.
In the fifth grade, their curriculum is about American history. So the whole game, and you were a fifth grade teacher.
I was.
Was me figuring out how do I make this a game, and I don't want. I mean, here's what we do really wrong with drama in school. We give them, okay, I had this one lady that bugged me endlessly because what she wanted to do was she wanted kids to memorize speeches from American history. Memorize the Declaration of Independence. Memorize the Gettysburg Address, right? Just memorize it. Say it over and over and over again, and somehow you will magically understand what it means to live in a democracy.
And that's the lowest level, by the way, on the pyramid. Remembering.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And I would go, no, I don't have to teach them a date and a fact. I have to teach them the concept of what's going on. I have to make them experience history, right? It may not be accurate, but the thing is, they'll go back afterwards and go, okay, so what really happened? What really happened? And kids will say, come, the fifth graders.
Yeah.
There was this one kid that would come, there was the Stamp Act. I read about the Stamp Act. Or they would come back and go, I didn't know that American Indians were involved in the Revolutionary War, because they did, and they were, and it was in my game, but it didn't really, we never knew whether the English, well, first they did the French and Indian War. We didn't know if they were going to win that. Right. We didn't know if the rebels were going to win or not, and maybe they wouldn't. I mean, I can't tell you how many nights I go, please, 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 let them win, because I didn't, and they won every time.
Yeah.
I have no idea. Their determination was just phenomenal. So what is important is that it's a game that spirals, it's a game that your lesson plan is created with the structure of where is my climactic moment?
Right.
Right? Where is you either won it or you blew it.
Right.
And if you blew it, I cannot tell you how good that is.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, one of the things I want to stress over and over again is that when you play a game, the coach doesn't come in and say, well, we lost, so let's quit.
Right.
Because we aren't going to play anymore because you guys are just losers. No, the coach comes in and goes, here are the things you did well.
Mm-hmm.
Now let's look at what we can do better the next time.
Right.
So you're constantly striving to be successful. So I made sure that the concept of games, and it's their world. Yep. I had to give them their world.
Can I add to that? Is that with the games though, it's based on teams. For most part,
right?
They're working together. And you had asked me what are some of the skills that my kids learn by being on a team in my classroom? And one of them is accountability.
Right.
Because when you're on a team, you have to do certain things to keep everybody safe, or to keep everybody engaged. And so everybody has to know their role. They have to know that they play an important role. They have to know that sometimes they have to be unselfish and help other people succeed so that the team succeeds, even if they're not getting to do what they wanted to do originally.
Right. And I mean, there's so many, those four skills, I'm going to say them one more time.
Yeah.
Concentration, concentration, cooperation, imagination, observation. All four of those skills are always involved in a game.
Yeah.
Always involved in a game.
Absolutely.
Right? I mean, the point guard on a basketball team has to see the whole court.
Yep.
Right? And no, there's this guy sitting over there that nobody's paying attention to. I'm passing to him.
Right.
Right? So the game is improvisational.
Yes.
Right? In the sense it's like, I see it, we can do it, let's try it.
Right.
Boom. I win, I lose, I move on. And it's also about living in the moment.
Yeah. It is.
You something happens and you respond. You are instantly responsive.
Yes.
So it is a whole experiential learning at its peak when you make it a game.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And kids get a sense of problem solving.
That's it.
Problem solving on the spot.
On the go.
Thinking.
Yeah.
And I want to really push the idea that imagination can build concentration. We don't see that.
Right.
We think that you concentrate and then you can imagine.
Right.
Now, when you're imagining, watch kid imagine.
Right.
They are like totally focused. Totally focused. They don't go, oh, I imagine. Oh, yeah, I think I'll imagine over here. Oh, I think I'm. No. Their imagination is taking them so in their own little world.
It's like synergy. They're working off each other.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. All these skills come together in the concept of a game.
Yeah.
So I want to push this as we're kind of getting to the end. Again, remember that lecturing is the least effective way to teach. It almost always is the lower order thinking skills. Knowledge, comprehension, boom. Some take notes, some are gone. Some are like, the minute you start talking, I'm like, I'm out of here. My mind is like wandering up here.
Plus, there's no people skills in that.
None.
And that's what life is.
Right. Absolutely none. And we talk about it in the, when I have to write the stuff for the episode.
Yeah.
I always talk about, I put down something, social emotional learning, because right now they're really pushing social emotional learning.
They are.
Right? But mostly, I think, because of COVID, because the kids took a year and a half off, and so they don't have
the skills.
They don't have it anymore.
No.
So it's like, well, don't lecture, because they're never going to get it. Right?
You can't lecture it into them.
Right. I want to say a science lesson plan always is experiential and always leads to a climax. You collect data, you have a hypothesis, you test the hypothesis, it either fails or it doesn't, and then you move forward.
Instant feedback.
So it's all higher order thinking skills put together. And I'm like, yeah, a science lesson is a great experiential lesson. History has to be the same way. English has to be the same way. All of our curricula needs to change the way we do a lesson plan. No 5-paragraph essay lesson plan with, here's my introductory statement, here's my introductory question, and there I have 3 points, point 1, point 2, point 3, and then I'll talk point 1, point 2, Point 3, and then conclusion. I wrap it all up by saying the whole thing over again. There is no agency at all involved in that. There are no rules to the game, right? There is no narrative. It's flat. It's dead.
Right.
It's dead the minute you open your mouth.
It is.
So, yes, I'm not teaching you how to do what I do.
Right.
I'm teaching you how to think like I think.
But that's exciting because, for example, like in my classroom, I could even be reading a story in language arts, and it's just if it's not getting to them, if they're just sort of going through it. But if I get them talking about it and what do they think's going to happen, and start exploring the different levels, and I say we're going to even have you get up, stop, and I'm going to see how you think it's going to play out with these characters. So who's going to play these characters? Do an improv in front of the class, and let's see how it would how you think the book's going to end.
Right.
And then come back and now let's read it, and now they're really engaged because they want to know, does it compare? Is it close?
And in this clip that we're watching later in our episodes, he talks about SATs and how SATs have changed, because it used to be you would read this like long paragraphs, and then they'd ask you inferential questions. How, what do you think is going to be the conclusion? What would be a logical blah 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 blah? Now, it's one sentence, and then what is this? But it's all knowledge based.
Right.
It's all dumbed down.
Right.
So we really need to think about this. And I'm going to talk a little bit. Here's a quote that I'm doing a Bill Cecil quote of the day.
Okay, let's hear it.
The mind of the beginner sees many possibilities. The mind of an expert sees few.
Oh, wow.
Isn't that a good one?
That is interesting.
It's a really, really
yeah.
exceptionally good one, I think, because
oh my gosh.
I think we have, I've always, okay, so I have a doctorate, but I don't like to brag about it because I'm sort of almost embarrassed by it. Because what happens getting your doctorate is you get smaller and smaller and smaller rather than larger and larger and larger, right? Like, I am going to study the wheat pattern on the china of the Roman Empire in 4 something or the other, right? AD. I'm like, really? Really? You're spending your life focusing on that thing that's like so little? Like, why, when you get a PhD, isn't it bigger and bigger and broader and broader and broader?
Yeah.
So I think that this quotation has to make us think, we've got to think that kids we see them as the beginner, and that their minds see many possibilities, and we want to welcome those possibilities.
And that is the ticket that buys engagement.
Right.
Because you don't have to be the smartest kid. It doesn't matter, because every kid has that imagination, and if you can tap into it, and what if they go there because they have imagination. They want to know where would it go, and then they have to explain it, or they have to show it, or they have to make something to represent it.
It's my magical what if.
You suck them in, and they're getting much more, going up the scale of higher learning.
Right. And the minute I give them permission to explore their own version of what if, then it opens them up to getting excited about learning. Then they're curious because it's like, wait, I got an idea.
Right.
Like, good, listen to it. Instead, we have told teachers that these are the questions that a kid needs to ask.
Right.
And if they don't ask that question, we shut them out.
Okay, I want to share one more thing. You just made me think of it. Thomas Edison. He struggled in school. There's other great scientists that have amazing things, that have people that have struggled in school, but somewhere he got excited about wanting to figure out how to make something work, and he wasn't afraid if it took 10,000 mistakes, because he was getting closer.
Right.
And then, but the thing is that we turn kids off because I got the wrong oval shaded in, or I didn't make a good score on that test. I'm a loser. That shuts them down.
Right.
Instead of you build their imagination. Who knows which direction they're going to take it in?
Thomas Edison is saying, what did I learn with this experiment? I learned that this doesn't work. It's another one that doesn't work.
But I'm going to figure out what does.
Scratch it out.
Right.
I'm getting closer.
Yeah.
I'm seeing that I'm getting closer. Okay. So it's time for us to go. it's time for us to go. And I want to say what we want for teachers is for you to have your Eureka moment. It comes out of the blue. There'll be a moment when you go, oh my gosh,
Yeah.
I could do it this way. I never thought of that. Good. Eureka. Goodbye.